Hey everybody, Steve Biederman. It's August. I cannot believe it's already August. I feel like I was just shoveling snow, although I think a lot of you have had some pretty bad summers of heat and rain and God knows what. So let's just talk about business. 5 unstoppable strategies for thriving in business storms. Look, there could be 5. There could be 10, there could be 1. Why did we choose 5? Well, 1, 5 is my lucky number. But 2, there are multiple approaches to surviving through difficult times. And I'm going to give you some examples of it. But every business succeeds because they learn the formula that drives their business. So when you're in a business storm, the issue that arises is that you get out of your rituals. If you really think about what happened with the pandemic, everything's moving along and suddenly you're out of your ritual. And when you're out of your ritual, it's like, what do I do now? How do I continue? You're looking to continue what you've been doing, but now everything underneath you is disrupted. And so there's a moment in every business storm that is shock, right? There is just shock. So listen, I've written some things here that I think I want to share with you, and they'll be 5. And I want to give them to you in an order that, to me, takes you from the beginning to the end. First things first, you have to show up. I know it's so simple to say this, to show up, but the truth of the matter is that when a problem exists, and I'm not talking about an everyday problem, I'm talking about something serious that is upsetting and you're not sure of what the outcome is. The reality is, oftentimes we do the opposite of showing up. We ignore, we pretend it doesn't exist, we put on a happy face, or we just are irritable and discontent. And you have to show up the next day, and you have to come in and you have to face the moment. What am I facing? In the pandemic, what was I facing when I got out of my rhythm? What happens when I don't know what the end date is of a problem? What happens if a bank shuts my bank account down? What happens if I'm depending upon someone to make a payment so that I can make a payment to make payroll, and they don't make the payment on time? What do you do? Well, I'm telling you, showing up is a hard thing to do. So you have to show up with the idea that the goal here is not simply to live to fight another day. I know that sounds great, and I know that as long as I live to fight another day, I have another day to figure things out. But if I'm only living to fight another day and I have nothing else going, then the next day is going to be pretty much the same way today is. So you have to have a plan. And what does that mean? That means you have to design a new formula for your business. You have to design a new ritual. Because if your plan is only, how do I take care of the immediate things I'm facing only, you won't be back into your rituals, into your approach, into your philosophy. And everybody around you will know that, because in those moments when you are the leader to survive the storm, everyone is looking to you. Because the minute that you don't show up with a plan, the people around you are going to leave. They're going to be unhappy. mostly what though is going to happen is they're going to lose the most common thread that ties us all together, which is trust. And when trust is gone, other people start making decisions. And then those other people are disrupting you from your leadership position to get your plan in motion. So when you put a plan together, how do you do that? Well, the hardest thing when you're in a crisis is to show up and take the time to build that plan. In other words, you have to get clear in your head, when I'm in crisis, how do I calm down? How do I analyze? Not just do stuff, not just live to fight another day, and how in fact can I look at the whole piece here and make a decision? Again, the pandemic. In my business, what we did during the pandemic, on the day, I remember it because the NBA shut down. And to me, that was the day that began my pandemic. And when that happened, the next day, I knew we needed a new plan because I knew some logical things. I knew that other businesses would be in crisis. I knew that other businesses wouldn't necessarily be showing up and planning correctly. And I knew I am dependent, as you are, on other businesses. So I had to make a plan that took into account all of these variables. So how do you do that? You have to decide ahead of time, today, right now, what are you going to do when a moment in time happens and all of the things you depend on in your rituals of success fail you, and that you can't count on them, when they don't have an end date? What do you do? How do you do it? Now, I'm not saying that you're building contingency plans. I'm not saying that. I am saying that you have to have a framework for yourself that you know when you have a business storm, this is how I go about to get to a solution. Some people use contingency diagrams where they're deciding, ideating on new ideas. Some people say, when I have a problem, I call all of my people into a meeting, all of my key people, and we talk about, we have a problem. To me, that's not enough, because all of those people are disrupted. And if they don't know what your approach is to getting to a solution, it's not going to happen. Trust me. And all you're going to do at best is live to fight another day. But when you have people in a room, or when you're sitting in the middle of the night deciding, what do I do now? What is next for us? You have to understand that the key piece is, how do I get back into my ritual of business? And to do that, it means you're going to come up with a wide range of ideas. And here's what people do when there are a wide range of ideas. They judge. Do not judge. Do. You don't know. There is a tendency to say, well, I've done that before. I've done this. I don't need to do that. No, that's flawed. And then we end up when we do that thinking, we end up making decisions based on what is wrong. And then the least wrong gets to be the decision we make. And that doesn't work. It does not work. So you have to take the ideas that come up that create the most enthusiasm and passion, and that can extend for you. So if I do this, not what I did before, but if I do this with the conditions that I'm dealing with, what would it mean if I always had to do it this way? Again, the pandemic happened. What did we do? We immediately impacted our expense side, our payroll side, all of the cost side of our business. And we did that because we knew there was going to be a reduction of revenue. We just knew it. We didn't judge it. We accepted that that would be the burden. If it didn't happen, great. But we assumed it. That day after the NBA shut down, no, we didn't have less revenue, but we knew it. So then you have to say, if I reduce my expenses and my overhead and my repeatable overhead, what does that business look like? Practical thinking. The business could look this way. If the business looks this way, can I get into rituals of success? Can I be passionate about it? Can I restore everyone's faith in our business? And listen, everything I'm saying, it's hard as heck to do this when in the moment your whole foundation is undermined. How do you make payroll? How do you know you can sustain your business? How do you pay your bank loans? How do you pay your employees? This is the crux of it. The crux of a business storm isn't that I'm having a bad quarter of sales. The crux of a business storm is, oh my God. So while you're facing, oh my God, I am telling you, you have to pause in the oh my God moment and in your own approach to leadership. You have to manage yourself. You have to control yourself. You have to show up. You have to have a plan. And you can't judge to get to that plan. You have to do the right things. Do the next right thing. When in the pandemic, we immediately reduced our approach to expenses. We extended our days of payment. We made a lot of difficult decisions, but sustainable decisions. When we did that, we knew that in really the most foreseeable worst case, that could extend us a long time. Not 3 months, not 6 months, but a long time. And when we did that, we understood there were risks involved. We may have to replace vendors. Can we? Let's look at that. We didn't judge the decisions we made. We just made the decisions. And then we put it together as a plan and said, all right, this is who we are today, and this is how we're going to go build our business tomorrow. And we're going to do it in this scaled way. Now, one of the things businesses often do when they're in a business storm, when money is tight, when their customer base is restricted, it's diminishing. What do they do when they start to hold back their costs? They make certain mistakes that sort of undermine the fundamental piece of their business, which is generally growth. So I'm saying, how do you plan to grow when you have a pandemic? How do you plan to grow when you don't have much money today? That becomes the real thought, which is, how do I do that? Not, I cannot do that. And for years, I was a consultant, and I would walk into businesses where they were in trouble, and every single business that called me had a business storm, everyone. And there was one common thing that I saw really every company. I actually can't think of any that didn't do this, except my companies. And this is what happened. People immediately cut back the areas of their company that they feel are optional. But here's the point. So I was working with a company that was a local city, I think they were Motorola dealer at that time. This is many years ago. And they controlled the market for these two-way radios at that time in the Denver metropolitan area. and they were controlling that market. They were the lead dog. But their business continued to diminish while they were facing new technology around them that was taking and carving into their business. Seems logical that the business needs to make a shift, right? The business, if it's going to survive, needs to make a shift. So they did what everybody probably did during the pandemic, and they adjusted their expense side. When they adjusted their expense side, they stopped marketing. They felt that marketing was an option. But I'm here to tell you that there are certain costs of doing business. And the cost of doing business essentially means there are things you must deal with, that you have to pay. I cannot work without my lights on. I cannot work without certain employees. I cannot work without A, B, or C. And when, a quick example just to make the point, a business in technology, dealing with data, exchanging data between customers, what is a cost of business for them? It's security. It's regular audits. It's assuring that they pass their audits. There is a cost to that. Although the business itself can make that decision to yes or no do those audits and accept the cost and burden of that, if they don't, because many times nothing comes up. In the moment something comes up, though, it may kill you and you think you're playing the odds. The truth of the matter is you can't do that. The truth of the matter is there is a cost. If I'm going to be in that data sharing business, I must be compliant. I must meet regulation, and I must go through my audits, and I must accept the cost of the X amount of money that goes into that. That's what I talk about as a cost of doing business. But when people start cutting their business because they're in fear in a business storm, they start to cut the things that nobody around them will tell them no about, and may not tomorrow when they wake up do anything except save them a little money in their bank account. But they begin to cut many of what are the costs of doing business that are unseen to other layers of people that seem logical in the moment. But every single business I walked into that had a reduction of growth, everyone, or a reduction of stability in their customer base, everyone stopped marketing or cut back marketing or made cuts in their adjustment to marketing. And I'm going to tell you this, the cost of every business that I know of, every business, big, little, stable, is marketing. The minute you cut back marketing and you say to that businessman, why did you cut back marketing? And he says or she says, I could not afford it. Then you say, what saves your business? Well, I have to find a way to regain some of my customer base. I have to find a way to stabilize my customer base. And then my question to them is, if your base is diminishing, and you're reducing your marketing, how in the world do you expect to stabilize your customer base? Well, I'm sure it'll get to a point to where it just sort of stabilizes out. I wouldn't live by that rule. I would say it makes no sense that if you want to be in business, you're going to cut back marketing. So there is an answer in my mind in a business storm to someone who insists upon themselves that they cut back marketing. There is one thing I can tell you about. Sell your business. The minute you're unwilling to assume the cost of doing business, marketing being a foundational pillar in the business, the driver of the business per se, then you don't belong in that business. You have to sell that business. You have to do it at that time. That's how critical it is. So you never, in a business crisis, cut back marketing. Now, I know that when I'm saying this, and Aubrey agrees with me, and she says marketing is so important. It is, Aubrey. It is critical. But listen, there are other costs of doing business that have to be evaluated in your approach to coming up with a plan when you show up, to put a plan together without judgment. And there are other costs, and every single other cost has to be included in how you go forward. Because if all you're doing tomorrow is making payroll and missing marketing, missing all of the other pieces that are integral to your business, then all you're doing is making payroll and extending the pain another 2 weeks till the next payroll. And if you begin to just live by payroll to payroll, that's not a survivable ritual. Remember, I said it's the ritual of business that you're looking for. So listen, I know I'm talking a lot today. A couple other things. You have to be a warrior. What does that mean, to be a warrior? Being a warrior does not mean I'm going to slash and burn. I'm going to pretend problems don't exist. I'm going to win in spite of everybody losing around me. It doesn't mean that. It means that when you show up, you're going to show up with the most common sense but passionate approach you can on an every single day basis. That's all it means. It's not something that happens only when you're in a battle. It's be a warrior every day. Be passionate every day. Have a plan every day. Stay with your costs of doing business every day. Do not judge your plans and people's ideas. Allow them to exist and find ways to take all of that and put it back into the form of your next approach to your business, which I call business ritual. But every day in your business, on the good days, as well as in the most important, in the business storm days, every single day, accomplish something. Do not start your day without setting an expectation in your company to everyone that today we have to do something. We have to improve. We have to not survive the moment. That's implied, but we have to get better. So in that pandemic, when things are bad, does that mean that you can't get better? It actually means there's just another plan you have to put together. And I'll tell you what we did in our business. We began to focus on taking advantage of this moment, this pause in revenue growth, and we focused on marketing our brand and positioning our voice of knowledge within our industry to where people could see day in and day out our integrity and our sticking power and staying power. And at the end of those business storms, the advantage that we had was the growth that we're seeing now in our business. So listen, there's a lot of lessons, but do it right. Don't freak out. Enjoy yourself. And as Tom says, have a battle plan. Sharpen your axe. Have a battle plan, like Tom says, a battle plan. So listen, good to talk to you today. I hope this helped you. You know, it can't always be, oh my God, this is so exciting and this is a great podcast. That way, sometimes it's just business that we have to get down to and talk about the fundamental pieces. And the unstoppable strategies we face are not the heroics that we think we're supposed to do. It's the sense that when I have a business storm, I must pause and get myself into my new plan and approach and belief in that plan and drive towards it and the ability to do something beneficial every single day. Hey, look forward to talking to you in a couple more weeks. You take care. Thanks for taking the time with me. Bye-bye.